thing, you stay if you want.
No, I gotta go. I'm on a mission.
Go get them.
One of these days I need to stay because I need to learn that for real.
Stay. He needs to. We can do it. We can come set it up for him. It's easy to do.
Yeah, I know it. I just need to stay and see on it, and then go to the other room and work on getting on Facebook.
Perfect. Hey, be good, brother. Thank you for that thing. That's good.
Astros win, Olympic musings, where's Kamala, all that and more coming up on today's Wade and Carter Show.
Solid. I mean, solid work right there.
Good, I'm going home. My job is done.
4 years of journalism school right there.
5.
Hell, since my baby left me. Me. It's the weather.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you,
How
bud.
are you this morning?
So blessed. Everything's good. How are you?
I'm good. How was your weekend?
Busy, but it's kind of like on a weekend. You ever have those weekends where you don't really do anything, but then you're just like worn out?
Yep.
That's kind of where
this
we're
past weekend.
Kind of where we're living.
Let's do this.
Wow. Going to be a hot one. Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the great folks at Deerland Feed. That's where the hot deals are. 77 degrees right now in Victoria, Texas, heading to a high of 96. I mean, that's like stay inside weather in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Heat index will be up pushing 109, 110 today.
Yeah.
So.
Little guys, my Caden and Ryland both have a industrial football camp today. So that's what that is. They don't tell them this, but what that is they put them on a bus and they take them over to Refugio and they let the Refugio kids block and tackle them. And they call that football camp.
Learn.
And just by being in proximity to those kids in Refugio, they come back and win their district.
It's osmosis, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. If you can survive camp it's like going to Junction in 54 with the Aggies. If you survive this, you can win the Southwest Conference. If you can survive camp in Refugio, you're ready. You're poised to beat up on Ganado. That's kind of the way that goes down.
That's how that goes down?
Yeah. Some good athletes out there. I'm always impressed when I go out and watch just, not a ton of select ball, not a ton of, big time youth programs. Just these country kids come to town and play sports, and they're fun to watch.
Scott Tomko checking in. Good morning to you, Scott. Hope you had a good weekend. David Glass is in.
Good morning, Lottie. Listening by osmosis, just like she's just there, stuck with us. Good morning.
Karen Webb, Diane Tippett, Marvin Mickish, Richard King, Don Posey. Good morning, Judge.
Hi, Judge.
Bobby Leister says, good morning, the Astros sweep. We'll get to that in a minute. Kendra Douglas. Leisterometer holding steady at 1,004 YouTubers. Justin Glass. Good morning, Matt Boucher. Matt, I think he's going to try and get in here this week.
It's like, Bobby, we decide what we talk about. Thanks for the content.
The Iceman is in. Good morning to you, Ice. Rob Moore Knipling, Rena Scherer. Good morning.
Justin Verlander.
Rena Scherer's back, fresh off. She's got her sea legs out from under her now and back to her landlubber legs.
Oh, good.
Christina Wise, good morning. Chris Conrad checking in. Scott Snow, Sheriff Louderback is in. Junior Samples, H.R. Mallory.
Sheriff, what did H.R. say?
Looks like he's not going to break into triple digits out near Eagle Pass this morning.
Wow.
Lisa Poole's in. Andy Schneider, good morning. Erica Boucher is in.
Oh, good morning.
BJ Nelson, good morning, everybody. So,
you won it. What's you talking about?
I don't know. So, Astros sweep the Rangers. Yep. You went to yesterday's game. How was it? How's the atmosphere at Minute Maid this year?
Electric. The stadium was normal capacity. There was a couple sitting next to me, had two kids, and the little children had masks on. But in general, there were very few masks. In fact, I'll admit, walking around the dugout store, where you can buy T-shirts and all that stuff. Walking around in there, I became cognizant that I was extremely close to a lot of people that I didn't know. They're just walking like, man, there's no masks in here. and everybody is like, they're like, you and I are close. It was like this. Excuse me. Like you're on people. So.
Andy Reid, junior trainer. Does that bother you now, or did it bother you before and you just weren't cognizant of it?
Yeah, see, it didn't really bother me, but I just became aware, like, I'm closer to people that I don't know than I've been in over a year.
Yeah.
There's where it was. I was like, you and I have been around each other. I've been around Lee and Ida and friends and family and around my house, and where we end up in group pictures, for example, and you're very close to each other. This was a group picture moment with 100 people that you don't know.
Yeah. But you go to restaurants and you're still spaced out. You go different places and they still got you kind of spaced. Well, you're always spaced out, but anyway.
The good news is I really just caught a screeching case of herpes, but I didn't get anything else.
Nothing else. That's good.
Yeah. No, but the Astros, to answer your question, Zach Greinke comes up. Just typical Greinke performance. First two guys get singles. The third guy puts the ball in play. Then he strikes out a guy. Then they turn a double play, and the inning's over. It was just like that. It's Greinke baseball. In about the fourth or fifth, he gave up. When a guy hits a ball with a wooden bat, and you go, wow, that's hit hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that guy hit a line drive into the Crawford boxes. But
he goes 6, gets the win. He's now 9-3
or 10-3. Abraham Toro hits a 2-run shot to bail Greinke out.
Must be 10-3 now.
And then later on, they added another RBI with Jordan Alvarez came around and scored, who is a big man. Jordan Alvarez is a giant of a man.
Yeah.
And
reminds me of Baby Huey.
Yeah, he came around and scored, and very pedestrian, 4 hits. All the Astros mustered for the day, but they win 3-1. What a person.
Adam Sugar says, put some raw meat on those, Brent. You'll be good to go tomorrow.
Right? There you go. Cucumbers over my eyes, some raw meat on the fever blisters, and off we go.
Yeah. But meat ain't so good.
Right? Transfer the virus to the meat.
So Astros sweep.
Yeah, the Rangers are not very good, and yet I listened to a pundit talk about them the other day, and I know in general y'all don't care, but I'm just telling Ash this. I heard a guy say the other day that the Rangers had thought they wanted their relevance to coincide with the opening of their new stadium last year. And COVID kind of messed that up. But they spent some money on some pitching last year, and they're saying that if this offseason, and they were talking about, for example, a guy like Carlos Correa, who's a free agent, if they threw some money at some key pieces, that the Rangers are poised to be a good ball club again really quickly. I'll tell you who scares me.
30 games below 500.
I understand that, but
I don't know how you turn around a 30-game difference really quickly.
Well, remember when the Astros went 51-1-11, and now they go 1-11-51.
Yes, but they didn't do it really quickly. It was a 3 or 4 year process getting there. They had two back-to-back seasons of 100 straight losses.
True. My love for you is true.
Steve Kidder, good morning. So,
Counselor,
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I do wonder, though, as you move forward, if you are a Rangers fan, it's kind of like being Lee Caballero calls the Texans the Texicans. I
hate to say it. I think.
Wait, if you hate to say it, you don't have to say it.
But
you don't have to say it.
I'm not a Rangers fan, but I tend to think it's better for Major League Baseball in Texas
if they're good,
when the Rangers are at least good.
Yeah, and with them being in the American League and us being in the American League, and man, that's a good picture this morning. We look good. Folks, we look good this morning, and I want to – right now is a great time to tell you about our banner
Chris
sponsor.
Congress says the Rangers are just 5 or 6 guys away from being a mediocre team.
Well, that's
basically summing up what I was trying to say.
If they could get a shortstop and a third baseman and maybe somebody to play a little second, a couple guys in the outfield, I mean, they could be pretty good. Solid point. I'm just trying to be – fair, and I'm trying not to be that gloating Astros fan. Yeah, the Astros folks are so good. I mean, if you've never enjoyed baseball at the major league level because it's too slow or it's boring or
too expensive,
reach out and enjoy the Astros. Find them on TV, and they are a lot like watching the enjoyable San Antonio Spurs years. They're good characters. They seem to be good people.
They're having fun while playing.
Dawn and Ida sat there the entire game rating the pant wear of the players. Carlos Correa was a little saggy in the bag. Chas McCormick, no, that's a good-looking ball player, Dawn said. She had an affinity. She noticed that Kyle Tucker is built like two different people. He's very slightly built from the waist up, but he's got thick legs and a nice firm buttocks.
Yeah, they're not looking at the pants.
Yeah, it's just,
yeah.
Oh, cleat chasers. Cleat chasers is what they are.
So they are.
We had a good time.
Glad you enjoyed the game.
There was a lady behind us that was a Rangers fan, and she said something. This guy, Curtis Terry, I think is his name, is a kind of a baby Huey looking guy for the Rangers, and he came up and he was only in like his 8th game, and he had zeros everywhere. He'd never gotten a hit, nothing, and he gets plucked, and he's going to first base, and this lady goes, "Way to go, way to get on base," and we just wore her out after that for the rest of the game.
Tom Price, good morning to you.
Dawn says we had a nice view. Yeah, Tina, help me, honey. So you liked McCormick looked good. High Torn Bales, Junior Samples, and she thinks that McCormick is a good looking guy. She goes everywhere, and then Correa's a big kid, but he's thin, spindly. And Jordan Alvarez is built like a defensive end. Yeah. Like you could just put him out there and go football, tackle, go. Apparently he speaks no English. And Lee yelled at him in Spanish some things.
Lee doesn't even speak Spanish.
Very little. The tone sounded like Lee wanted him to do better. So, yeah, Astros only get 4 hits. That bothered me a little bit. I expected to see half a dozen home runs instead of the only mere 2 that I saw.
To me, it seems like Greinke's sort of taking up the lack of run production that Verlander had in a sense.
Yeah.
But they win. They sweep the Rangers and head on to take on the Mariners in Seattle beginning tonight. So we'll see. Tonight?
What is Mallory talking about?
I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on there. But
Medal of Honor. Second Lieutenant Lloyd Hebert Hughes was the first of 7 Aggies.
Herbert. I'm guessing Herbert.
Oh, Herbert. Okay, Herbert Hughes. Lloyd Herbert Hughes. Andrew Lloyd Webber. Lloyd Herbert Hughes was the first of 7 Aggies to be awarded the Medal of Honor during World War II. There was a gentleman there yesterday, folks, that was celebrating, I think, his 103rd. It wasn't first. It was 100-plus birthday. And
101st would fall into that category.
Yeah, but it was like 103rd or 105th. And he was still bright-eyed. He wasn't quite bushy-tailed. But he stood up, and the crowd, of course, was respectful and went nuts.
And was that the game?
Yes, and just kind of right
World War II vet?
World War II vet. Yeah, and there just aren't
not
many
that
left.
many anymore, no.
No. I knew so many as a kid, knew so many as a young adult, thank you for your service, and back before Vietnam veterans got the love they deserve, the World War II vets were highly revered, and it just lets you know how many people the world threw at the Nazis and the Japanese. It's just crazy.
Terry Murray, good morning.
Folks, real quick, if you need Allen's Wrecker Service,
578-6300 is the number to call.
Allen's your go-to tow-to. They will take care of you. They act like a first responder. Show up, secure the scene, make sure you're safe. You come first. And then they'll take care of your vehicle and get it where it needs to be, which very often may be Atzenhofer. Since 1926, the Atzenhofer dealership has taken care of Victoria in different ways. Now, current iteration is Chevy, Cadillac, Mazda, Mitsubishi. They service all makes and models, and
there's an
paint and body shop. Is it de rigueur? Am I close? RIGU. Anyway, they got a good one.
I think so.
They got some guys that do some spray paint. They do a very nice graffiti thing. Kind of reminds you of Compadre's design. It'll come back, big gorilla on the side of your car, but you can't see the dent. Compadre's Design does our banners for our banner sponsor, the VCS companies.
Rocket Oil Field Services, the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer.
So whether
I'm trying to remind you, if you're a first responder,
surveillance,
get over there.
surround sound.
Sign up for FirstNet, a
security.
dedicated network for you.
If you just need a friend, like if you're ever in a situation where you need to phone a friend, just call the VCS companies. They're your friends in the communication world. And then Chesnick Furniture for 101 years in downtown Victoria, 70 at their current location. Reach out to Bobby Leon and his family.
116 West One Lynn is that current location.
Bobby literally grew up in that building. That's something to think about. He's nowhere near 70.
No.
But he gets around over there like he knows exactly where everything is because he put it there. And it moves all the time because Chesnick and Love make your house a home. You buy it today, they'll deliver it today. Why wait till tonight?
Go by there when they open.
Go see them at Chesnick. And then Veracruz, today's the day to get in there. Lee and Ida yesterday, Ida said, man, somebody was in the store last week and said, you have no idea how those Wade and Carter guys promote y'all every day. And I love it when our sponsors, I mean, these are dear friends of ours, but I love it when our sponsors hear, hey, man, they promote you every day. And my aunt was in town. My Aunt Betty was in town.
Was that Betty in town?
She came in to see Dad. And she said, the next time I come in, you got to get me over there for a bowl of that caldo. And I said, well, you got to come in on
Wednesday for that, Aunt Betty.
I mean, they ain't doing anything, No.
I'm glad Lee and I had a day off yesterday to enjoy the Astros game with you. That was nice of you to take him because I know, Lee was busy Saturday. He had a couple of catering gigs, so nice to see him take a day off.
The restaurant's open Monday through Friday, but then when they cater on the weekends, you're like, man, it makes for a long, long week.
Absolutely. So you were telling me that you had seen some video of Ezekiel Elliott, as we'll shift gears to Cowboys talk and maybe some NFL. But you say you're optimistic that Zeke might be ready for a bounce back season.
Yeah, he last year for him a career low at 4 yards a carry. Pedestrian Ash says still 4 yards a carry. I mean, you do the math. I give it to you 3 times. I got a first down. It's hard to beat, but for an elite running back who gets paid elite running back money, it was not a good year for him. He showed up, and people have noticed that he is very fleet of foot and very, very in shape. We all know that Zeke had a habit of going down to Cabo San Lucas and smoking weed and laying around on the beach and called it training camp. He is there now at 218 pounds. That's the lightest he's been since he was at Ohio State. And Chris Conrad said
Ohio State University. Right?
Zeke said, Chris Conrad said Zeke is yoked. And Fonseca says Zeke is ripped. The scaredy cat in me says this is when Zeke goes out and tears an ACL in a preseason game. But if he can stay healthy, he looks amazing. And I thought it was interesting, Ash,
and Dak says he wants to play in the preseason games. He's ready to go.
So few people ever step up and take responsibility for their shortcomings that it makes news. I thought it was interesting that Ezekiel Elliott said, look, I look back at last year and I look at my failure in my role to lead this team. And I thought that the least I could do is show up in incredible shape, ready to go to work. And I thought, add a boy.
No, it's good for him. You wonder, is part of that because Pollard played so well in Zeke's quote absence last year?
Maybe. And this is the last year of his guaranteed money. So in theory, you could cut him at the end of this year and not have to worry about him. And I think that he may want to work really hard and try to get some kind of an extension. He's still a very, very good running back.
And I just don't see the Cowboys being better than 9-8 this year. I just don't. I've diced it, sliced it, and that's
latest word is
good. That's as good as I can get them. And I don't know if that gets you to the playoffs.
No. Playoffs? Take the playoffs? The thing is, they can't do anything when they get to the playoffs anyway. The problem I've got is Aaron Rodgers now saying that he doesn't want to play at Green Bay. They offered him 2 extra years, would have made him the highest paid quarterback in football. And Aaron Rodgers basically is alluding that he wants to go play for the Denver Broncos. Now, is Denver that close? Like, are they close to being great? Could Aaron Rodgers do for Denver what Tom Brady did for Tampa Bay?
No, I don't think so.
You think he just wants to go ride around in a pickup and drink beer with John Elway?
No, I think he wants to get closer to LA and be hosting Jeopardy when he hangs it up.
Could be a legit point.
But yeah, no, I don't know. And Deshaun Watson shows up at training camp, and the Texans say they're entertaining all offers for him, and the asking price is at least 3 first-rounders.
So where did that go? Where did that? Why isn't he being prosecuted? Wasn't he a not a pedophile, but wasn't he like inappropriately touching people? Where did that go? That was all politics, as we said here, right? It went away.
Scott Tomko says Aaron just loves the mountains, and Fonzie says the Cowboys are going to state this year.
By the way, if the Cowboys were smart, they would take Aaron Rodgers because he's never lost in Jerry World. He's never lost there. Why not get him? Let him win every game. At least you go 8-9.
Got to be something to it, yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand Deshaun Watson. I'm not the kind of guy that frequents massage parlors, but
you infrequent massage parlors.
But I rarely go. I didn't want to go.
Maybe in Cabo.
What is that? I didn't want to go, but they made me. Who's they? Oh, it's my buddies. But there's nothing illegal about them.
No.
So if Deshaun Watson, as a professional athlete, says to himself, I make $30 million a year, I'd rather go get rubbed by some young Asian hottie than a guy named Bill in the locker room. More power to him. He can do what he wants. Now, he can't inappropriately touch or grope or expose himself, but that's what he was accused of, all of which is illegal. It's illegal. So why isn't he being prosecuted, Ash? How is it that when the trade rumors kind of subsided and the football started happening again, that this all went away? How did it just go away?
I don't know.
What happened to the charges? Or where is the left? Where is the ACLU? Where is the outrage that these young women have been taken advantage of by this man, just a man with money? And where is the outrage? Where are the people championing these young women's rights? Where are they?
They didn't need to come forward because there probably wasn't much to the allegations.
And yet this young man, who by all accounts is a great citizen and has been a great NFL member and apparently is, a fairly sharp individual, he's been maligned, his reputation forever sullied, and to what end? To what end? Who made money on this? Follow the money. Who made money?
Well, certainly not Deshaun yet.
Maybe the Texans made money. I don't know. I just think the whole thing is fishy.
It's interesting, too, that
smells as fishy as that parlor.
When this all started, they wouldn't have been able to give them away. Now they're asking for 3 first-rounders and players.
Interesting.
Yeah. And reportedly showed up to camp because he didn't want to pay the $50,000 a day fine for not being there. But
yeah, you know what? Good for him. I mean, that's somewhere his advisor said, go to camp. I can't imagine. I don't know what happens to young men when they start making a bunch of money. When you're in high school and you're gifted and you've got some game, you just naturally, you're the first one to the weight room. Hey, get a buddy, let's throw all summer. You work out, you have fun, you love the game and you respect the game. You get to college, and I even look at a kid like at Texas last year, that Sam Ehlinger kid. I mean, he was at every charity event. He was kissing all the babies. He was throwing the ball around with his buddies, hosting late night practices and stuff. And then they get to the NFL, and all of a sudden it's like, well, this is my job. It's just a job. And I don't know if it's that the NFL jades them by being just a business. Everything is very much just a business to the NFL. But it's a shame that a guy goes, yeah, I'll go to camp so I don't get fined. Not I'm the quarterback of a city of 4 million people, and I'm going to camp because I want to give them a great product. I can't wait to represent my city. That just like y'all are laughing at that because it just doesn't happen. That's a shame. It's a shame that that's the way it is.
Stephen Kidder says the out-of-court settlement will be sealed and no one will be able to talk about it for 75 years. And I had that thought and it went away for a second there because I was trying to find. I saw news over the weekend the Cowboys signed some cornerback that
from
the Jets, which
Yeah.
doesn't excite
no,
me
but he had a
because
bad Achilles, and apparently he was a high draft pick.
yeah, we'll see.
By the way, when that settlement is unsealed, we'll find out which one of those masseuses killed JFK.
Yeah, and then we'll find, and then everybody will be going, "Who's Deshaun Watson?" So
It had to be
now.
Gertie. It had to be Gertie. She's 87. It was Gertie. Yeah.
So, saw some video of Tom Brady. I mean, and everybody was like, "Well, he should be able to do that." Did you see him putting the football
Is
into
that
the?
real? Is that real?
Yeah, it looked pretty real to me.
He threw it into the ball, the
Into
thing
the
that has
ball
the wheels
machine,
that
yeah.
shoots the ball back, and he threw it in there, and then it came out. Now, what it could have been, just so you know, is the ball shot out. They reversed the film.
No, because he was throwing it. It wasn't like he was just catching it. I mean,
True
it was pretty
story.
good. I mean, it was pretty good. And then the one when he backed up and threw it a little harder, knocked the machine over. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But
He
pretty
wasn't that good at Michigan. Either that or somebody's going, who was the quarterback coach of Michigan when
Yeah.
Brady was there?
He was a head coach. He was a starter. But then again, think about it. Again, as so often in sports, the situation you're in and the coaches and the system, you become a product of that, right? I mean, look at, and I'll use hockey, for example, the Vegas Golden Knights. Their expansion draft, they get a bunch of guys that were languishing in small roles on other teams, and now these are their star players because
Right.
they're getting an opportunity that didn't exist at those other teams because they were buried down the depth chart.
Right.
So,
Adam Sugar makes a great point about Tom Brady. Either way, he was having fun, loving football. So you get to the highest points of the game where money's no longer an object to you, and then you go back to loving the game.
Yeah. And we're only 10 days out from the Cowboys' first preseason game against the Steelers too, which is I think the same day that the CFL regular season kicks off, August 5th. So can't wait for the CFL.
I saw something yesterday that I bet you didn't know.
What's that?
Abraham Toro is from Canada.
Yeah, I knew that.
You didn't know that.
He's the first Canadian to play for the Astros since
Terry Poole,
Terry Poole.
the great Terry Poole. True story.
Except I think he's from Montreal out that way. I think he's from
In today's game,
Yeah.
Terry Poole would still play right field for the Astros, and he'd make a living hitting balls over that short porch in right field.
just putting it out there the other way. Opposite field power.
Or he'd hit it over he could hit it over the Crawford box.
Toro hit a 2-run shot yesterday, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Oh,
there he is. There he is.
It's a bonus on a Monday.
Fresh off of convention.
Let's take a quick.
Let's take our
let's
break.
take
'Cause
a quick
I
break.
think I had set this up, but I wasn't 100% sure.
I couldn't be. Well, you go deal with the.
I will.
stuff. So, folks, White Trash Services. This next segment brought to you by BJ Nelson and the folks at White Trash Services. 550-1826, 7-county trash collection, and all around. How are you, sir? All around great folks. If you're going to do a big project, if you need a roll-off dumpster to have them come out, the folks at White Trash, they're just call them and have a trash testing day. 550-1826. Razor IT Solutions for all your IT needs, whether you need to encrypt your data, make sure that nobody's hacking into your system. If you need to collect money, they do it all. Razor IT Solutions. Call JP Hull and his team. The law offices of Steve Kidder. Steve Kidder is here with us every day. He is our resident legal advisor. When we have questions about, well, what does the law say about this? We call Steve Kidder, and then he helps us get in touch with people that understand the law. He can do that for you. No, Steve Kidder is a fantastic attorney and a better friend, and you need a friend in the law business. Trust me. And then the complete stores, whether you're at the Health Bar right here on Red River next to Woodlawn Bowl, you need a smoothie or a wrap or a fruit bowl. They've got it all. Up on the north side, you still have smoothies, but you've got all of the supplements and things that will make you everything from regular to very fit. So reach out to them. We are excited to have our friend and somebody smarter than us on so many things, Matt Boucher, Ag Extension Officer here in Victoria County. He's our guy. Good morning, sir.
Way too long.
Good morning.
Good to see you guys. I was not sure. I was driving and listening, not sure that I got the right day when you said I might be coming in this week. So
I couldn't remember, but I believe it was set up for the 26th, which is today. So I'm glad you made it.
I'm here.
Good.
I'm here. Good to see you.
Fresh off convention.
Yep.
How was back in person? I take it.
Back in person, thank goodness.
Did they give you like a little tomato plant when you left?
No, we got plenty of plans. So. It was good. It was in San Antonio. About, I guess, 200 extension agents from across the state get together and do some professional development. But it was good. It's good to be back together. Good to be back.
But that was a rowdy group.
You know it was.
Down the river walk.
BJ Nelson wondering if convention was really in San Antonio with how tanned you look.
Yeah.
That's what happened. We were on the hayfield, this weekend at 90+ degree weather, which is great. I mean, we're getting some hay cut and baled, and that's some of the benefits of the rains we've gotten. So that's what you're seeing there.
So what was anything earth shattering coming out of convention this year? Or was it more just kind of catching up because of lost opportunities?
A lot of catching up, a lot of kind of reconnecting. We haven't been able to connect in a couple of years. Most of it's professional development. We all been in convention, so we're doing, new things, learning new things like that. So that's what we're doing.
Ricky King cuts to it. With all this rain, when should we fertilize our yards again?
Well, thank you, Ricky. Thank you for the question. Getting a lot of questions like that. We got to go back a little bit. The crazy weather year with the freeze, everybody thought things were dead, and a lot of things worked. It did die, but a lot of things came back out around late June, first part of July. Some of the palms and things you thought were dead, they came back out. Yards are experiencing, with all the rain that we got what, I don't know, some places
70 inches,
25 inches in a couple of weeks.
And then 5 or 6 weeks prior to that, a similar amount.
Right. And they experienced weed problems, right? Everything that was dormant there for, I don't know, months or years at a time decided to grow and have weed problems. So right now with close to 100-degree temperatures we're going to get this week, we're going to dry out, which is a good thing. But I don't know if you should be fertilizing your yard in this kind of heat, so I don't recommend that. You probably needed to do it back in the first part of June, but probably the next window for your fertilization is going to be around Labor Day, sometime in September. So if you can wait and kind of mow the weeds down and control what you can, that'd be my suggestion.
My yard's just a little, I've been lucky, and one of my neighbors says that I have a derivative of St. Augustine that is just a little bit more hardy than.
You probably got 4 or 10.
Okay, that's what I believe it is, and that's what he said it was.
Okay.
But it's usually really thick and really robust, and as long as you put water to it, it does pretty well. Mine kind of has, in comparison to when it's lush, it's kind of got a yellow tint to it a little bit. Probably needs some nitrogen or something, but the timing's just not right.
It's not right. It may not, actually. It may just need a lot of heat to it. A lot of sunshine. See what it does in the next few days. I mean, when you get 25 inches of rain, folks, it does crazy things to everything. Trees, I mean, I have had oak trees with root rot. I've been out and seen they're dying because they've sat in water for, I don't know, a month. And oak trees just don't like wet feet, so you're starting to see some of that kind of thing. Matter of fact, I got to go out to a couple of places today that probably that's the problem as well down in the Guadalupe River bottoms. So we need to dry out, number one. And it will, 100 degrees, 3 days, it'll be dry again. Everybody be complaining about not having any rain.
It'll be a drought by Tuesday. We're in a drought.
But historically low summer temperatures too. I mean, this week really is the first time we've had anything even close to 100 degrees. And normally we're begging for 95, 92, a thunderstorm, something. But really strange weather year, and who knows? I mean, we could have a short summer, or it could go on into October. We just don't know.
Well, it seems to me the ice was on the ground like in May. I know. Well, it's not going to surprise me. I said, what if we have a hurricane in December?
You could have
It's a crazy time.
Crazy time. We get all the rain. That's great for hay production, where we're having historic high hay yields that are actually being cut and baled right now. But devastating to farmers. I mean, we lost about 8% of the grain sorghum crop. just rotted in the field. And corn did better, but not as good. And then, of course, we still got cotton out in the field. It won't be harvested late unless we get a late storm like we normally do in September. So there's pros and cons to all the rain that we got, and we'll have to see how things turn out.
Is that the reason for the delay with the cotton? Is all that rain?
Yes. Well, some of it was planted later because if you remember back when it was so dry, nobody can remember back when we planted all this stuff back in March and April. It was incredibly dry before we got all the rain, so that was a delay in getting some of it in the field.
I know at my place, and you've been out there, I had 30 inches plus in May, and then got another 20 plus inches this 2 weeks ago when everything rained. So I mean, I've had a ton of rain, and my place doesn't drain that well, but that first rain in May just killed my garden. It was doing pretty well, and that was it. It was my corn ended up rotting, just too much water.
Yep.
And I know that's a lot of problems for a lot of backyard gardeners this
It
year.
is. As a matter of fact, in my own backyard, it's the same kind of problem. Beautiful tomatoes that were doing well, set good fruit, and then we got all the rain. They just sat there and sat there and sat there. And then we got some of the heat on, and then, of course, they split when they get too much heat on too quickly. So, yeah, it's a mixed bag here. Honestly, it's terrible. In some places it's terrible. Some places it's great.
Our buddy and sponsor, J.R. Hartman, I sent him a note, and he said, I'll get back to you in a little while. I'm baling hay, or I'm cutting hay.
Yeah.
And later on, he sent me a picture, and it was, if you're not from South Texas, to say it was beautiful hay doesn't make sense to a lot of people. But where they had cut it, it was just the same consistent, extremely lush, and extremely dense green. It was a beautiful thing to see. And I asked him, I said, are you seeing any snakes? And he said, the first rule is never get off the tractor. It sounded like in Apocalypse Now, never get off the boat.
Yeah.
He's like, never get off the tractor.
Well, I've seen some hay yields where we're getting 6 rolls to the acre. Usually we get about 2 per cutting. So it's pretty incredible in some places. So we went from having people were stockpiling hay because it was so dry to a big surplus in hay. That's a good thing for cattle producers out there. So we'll see what happens. I mean, if the weather cooperates, they'll get this cutting and then another cutting before we get a freeze on it. Who knows, though? We may have a late freeze, early freeze. We don't know this year.
Yeah, and this is good because I know there are some. I've got a friend who has cattle, and he's worried that after the rain we might be heading to a drought. So at least the hay yields are good for that. They won't have to cull their herds anytime soon.
Historically, this time of the year, in my place, I have a place in Galena County. I've been running cattle out there since the 1840s or so. This time of the year, it's usually crispy out there. There's nothing we don't eat. We're feeding hay. So, and we got grass, like I said, we were cutting hay that was knee high out there. So it's incredible to see. Usually what we see now, we're seeing back in April when it starts to green up. So we're very thankful for that, and we will continue to see what happens.
What are some of the biggest questions you're getting from homeowners right now, other than the fertilizing?
Lots of questions on yards, lots of questions on trees. Number one question I get is usually trees. Trees are probably the focal point of most landscapes. So if something happens to them or they decide they're going to not look like they're supposed to, I get a call. And a lot of times I usually get the call it's too late. The trees are usually either dead or declining. And trees are hard to diagnose, honestly. Because they can't tell you what's wrong. You go to the doctor, you say, I got this or that. Well, the tree can't tell you. So really, I need to go see it in its environment and try and diagnose what the problems may be. It could be a multiple things. It could just be dry. It could be a disease. It could be an environmental factor. Who knows? So trees is number one. Number two is yards. Number three is going to be pastures. Number four is probably going to be gardens, landscapes, things like that.
When you see these palm trees, that many of them are kind of starting to get these little growth is coming again, and the old part froze and is hanging down. Is there any advantage or disadvantage to having someone go up and trim that old dead stuff off?
They need to,
because they look trashy, to be honest. I kind of want them trimmed.
I mean, there's some true liability issues with the old fronds because if they fall on someone, I mean, they can do some damage to people or property or whatever. So if you have the ability, that's the real question, because some of these palm trees are 50, 60 foot tall. To trim them or hire somebody to trim them, I would recommend doing it, but it's expensive. And a lot of them are in places around pools or places where they can't get big bucket trucks or whatever equipment they need back there to do that. So if you can do it, do it. And I think it does make them look better. They do look a little trashy with all that stuff hanging down. And most of them have not been done and just driving around because the tree trimmers are just, they're booked up.
Quick aside for you folks, if you live, say you have a neighbor and their limbs encroach onto your property, anything that's over your property line, you can feel free to trim, because what you don't want to have do is a storm come in and don't think that when your neighbor's tree falls on your house, the part that's on your property is yours and it's your responsibility to keep it off your house. If you have a dead tree on your property, after a certain amount of time, it's not long. I don't know the exact. I'm just an agent. I'm not an underwriter. After a certain amount of time, the insurance company says, hey, that's your problem. If you got a dead tree there, you have a duty to remove that dead tree, because if that falls on your neighbor's car, you are on your own.
Definitely. And we have some dead trees that are out there. As a matter of fact, I've been to several places where they're asking that exact question, saying, should I trim this in case it's going to fall? I mean, if it's dead wood, eventually it's inevitable. It's going to fall.
Matt goes, trim it all the way to the dirt.
I don't say that. But, and there are good trim jobs and bad trim jobs out there. And there are people that know what they're doing and there are people that don't. So be selective in how you do that and the information that you use to convey to the people that are trimming and how you want it trimmed.
I've got a neighbor who had a whole bunch of oak trees, kind of, canopying his house and shading it and stuff. And last year, I think he cut them all back, and I was like, oh, but now they're thriving. So he obviously hired somebody who knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
So
trimming
it's
them,
good.
People always want to know when the best time of the year is to trim trees. Well, if you have damage, you need to trim them right then, number one. But normally, if you're going to schedule that, it's going to be in the winter months, January, February, when the trees are least actively growing. Do you hurt them when you trim them, let's say now? Not necessarily. It just takes a little bit longer to recover, especially if it's really hot and dry like it is right now, hopefully going to be. So usually in the wintertime is what I tell people.
How about planting trees? If somebody had trees that died and they want to replace them, when is the optimal time to do that?
Optimal month is February.
Okay.
Optimal month is February. Most of your trees are going to be available in nurseries and other places in the fall or the winter months, or they should be. And probably most people plant. I suggest bare rooted trees if you can find them. Most people don't sell them anymore. They sell them in pots. Bare rooted is better, but pots are fine too. And planting a tree needs to be done correctly. I can't tell you how many times I've been out and folks don't plant them, or they plant them too low on the ground or too high up, or they've got too much mulch, what we call volcanoed up high on them. If you put mulch up 2 feet up on a newly planted tree, over time it's going to rot. And it's basically going to break off in that area. So really do some research on how to plant them correctly. You're spending a lot of money on them in most cases. It's a lot of work and time to do that. So try and do it the best you can so you can be successful.
Would you recommend, if you're not really sure, just hire somebody who knows what they're doing to do that for
Especially
you?
the larger trees, absolutely. You've seen the big ones they put it in. You got to dig a hole twice the size of the pot it's in. So if it's a large tree, definitely, if you don't have the ability to do that, I'd recommend hiring somebody or somebody at least to come out and show you how to do it correctly. I can help with that.
Good.
I've got a buddy that lives in Tioga up north, and a guy named John Telchik. And Telchik punted at Texas and played in the NFL for a number of years. And when he got out, he took his NFL money and bought a tree farm. And it must be quite an operation, because every time I talk to him, I'm on a tractor and I'm going down these rows and trimming this and trimming that, and he's supplies all the builders in the DFW area with like oak trees and things like that.
I would imagine that's lucrative.
He has a blast doing it. He jokes about I used to like to hear a crowd, and now I like to hear a tractor. Just peace and quiet, man. Just go out and do my thing.
The larger trees they used to sell on the diameter of the tree, the trunk size of the tree. So depending upon the diameter of the tree, they're gonna charge you for it. I mean, trees can go up to several $1,000s.
Oh yeah.
The size of them and what type of tree it is. So
it's like buying diamonds. You can buy a 3-foot palm for $100, but a 5-foot palm might be $600. It's like it's when you go from 1 carat to 2, the price doesn't double. The price quadruples. So, and Lisa Poole, yes, if your parents have limbs hanging onto their property, they are allowed to trim those limbs. It might be nice if they consulted their neighbor. You know, you'd hate to have just a straight line down an oak tree, but with neighborly relations aside, what's on your property is yours, and you can trim it.
Yes, that's right. But yeah, you can get a neighbor go over
Yeah.
and have them trim this tree.
Can you imagine you got like 100-year-old oak tree and like right at the property line, yeah, it's just sheared smooth
I'm
off.
sure it happens.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
I've got a neighbor, I've got a 100-year-old tree that butts up to the backside property, and just bought by another fella, a new fella. It needed to be trimmed because it was shading out some of my fruit trees, and he happened to be outside, and I visited with him. He said, "Yeah, it's on your property, go ahead and trim it." So
You just stand there holding your AR-15, just casually talking to
I
him.
normally don't bring it out.
Right, he saw the turret on the roof. Do you ever notice how you're driving down the road and like there's a beautiful oak tree and there's just a big wedge cut out of it, and you realize because there's like a power line going through, and the city comes out and
You've seen the utility trim guns.
they are not artists. They just whack.
They do not really care, I think.
Right.
And go-
No, they only care about the power line and the safety of their workers and
You
You
wish they could like maybe
reliability of
bury
power
that,
lines.
you know?
And
It's
you
just,
know they've got plenty of complaints about that.
Oh,
They
yeah.
don't seem to change what happens. So, it's sad because some of these trees are majestic in how they look and how long they've been there, and you go in there and see them just kind of butchered. And a lot of trees have a really hard time recovering from that kind of pruning anyway. So,
But I mean, if they're growing into that power line had been there first, right?
so
Would be my guess.
let's play this episode of Stump the Ag Agent. So I've got these big pots. I mean, they're like this big around and 18 inches tall.
Okay.
And I've got good soil in them and all that. And
So you think.
I put stuff that I want to be sun tolerant in these pots.
Okay.
And for example, my jalapeno pepper crop was astounding this year.
Yeah.
Just hanging off I did great. God did great with those plants. I went out and I noticed that these pots, they'll hold water, if it rains. So I drilled holes in the side with no cause for aesthetics. And it looks like somebody with a really bad,
In the side and not the bottom.
in the side, right down at the bottom, at the ground level. I would have had to actually lay it on its side to drill holes in the bottom. So I just got it to where I could get
Get
it.
it with the plant in it is what I'm guessing.
But I'm 1.5 feet below the plant. I'm down at the bottom. Now it looks like somebody just sits out there all day and dips snuff and spits Copenhagen on it. It looks like you just dip Copenhagen. It looks like tobacco stains running down the driveway. But I put, like, for example, a lantana in there.
Okay.
You can't kill it. It's a weed. It just happens to be a weed with flowers on it. It died. And I thought maybe
Let's
it's
be
too wet.
clear, you can kill anything.
But it's true. But I mean, I tried to water it right, and I let it get dry, and then my bougainvillea does great. I let it get really dry, and I hit it with a little water, and it's happy.
Store-bought lantana or something you dug up?
No, store-bought lantana. I just bought it. In fact, I bought it at Four Seasons. It was a good, beautiful plant. I brought yellow flowers all over it, put it in there, it died.
That's a stumper because lantana is what we call a Texas superstar. It would be one tried and true
Yeah.
plant. Texas A&M does tons of research on.
I'm a Texas failure.
Plants to make sure that they're going to be able to withstand the brutal, really, Texas summers.
You're not making me feel better.
That's one.
It's a superstar. It's hardy.
It's hard to kill. It gets that label because you just can't kill it.
Mr. Brown Thumb came in.
Yeah, but you got
It's doing great. And what are those things? Is it hydrangea? There's big. So we got some somewhere. Somebody said, take those home. And I put them in the yard. And they're doing fine. They're green, but they haven't bloomed again.
Not surprised by that with the heat and all the rain yet. They will. I mean, lots of things aren't doing what they should be doing just because of all the rain and that we had. And also still some were recovering from the freeze. So not surprised by the craziness that we had or experienced this year. Don't give up on them.
I was so optimistic when all my WeSats was just brown for so long that it was dead, and no, it all bounced back. Darn it!
The only cure for WeSats that I tell people, if you really don't want to have it anymore, is move.
Yeah.
Not a popular answer, but
No.
WeSats, you have to get in the mentality of WeSats management as opposed to WeSats eradication. You're just not going to get rid of it, folks. There is a new product on the market. Matter of fact, it just came out this year in 1 gallon containers called Invora, I-N-V-O-R-A, Invora. I've seen it. It was done in lots of different test plots. I've seen it on big and small. It does a very good job on it. So we will see what the Invora product will do with research. Talk to folks that put it out. You've got to have a pesticide applicator's license, number one, to purchase it, and number two, you have to go through an Invora training, and lots of the applicators are doing that now. But I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that. I'm going to put it out on my place this fall. That's another mistake folks make on weed sets is they try and treat it in the spring when it first starts to green up. It needs to be treated in the fall. And when the sap's going down into the root system, so we get a better kill. So think about those two things when you're thinking about a weed set treatment this fall. And when we say fall, that's a hard thing to define.
That'll be in December.
Yeah, usually around Thanksgiving is when I tell people Thanksgiving to Christmas is our fall here. So that's your window for weed set treatment if you're thinking about doing that.
My father-in-law, Joey Stockbauer, he's got something that he mixes either with kerosene or with diesel. It's really high-tech farming thought. And he goes around and sprays. He'll spray that weed satch, and then he'll spray about like 6 inches up from the base, from the ground. And he says, because you got to get it up to there, because and then it'll die.
It'll probably do a basic treatment of a product called Remedy Ultra and 25% Remedy and 75% diesel fuel. And you got to spray around every stem is the key. If you miss one stem, it's still going to resprout. So it's very labor intensive unless you've got 3 or 4. If you've got several thousand,
we get it along the fence lines is where we're getting it. So
fence line brush control.
Yes, sir.
Good
when a weed eater just won't do it anymore,
well, it'll do it, but it'll just come right back.
Yeah. Wow.
And another thing people don't know about weed setch is weed setches are resprouters. So if you cut it off, you go out there and mow it, weed eat it. Those 2 stems that you had now turn into 6 stems. And then you cut it again, those 6 stems turn into 12 or 18 stems. So you're only making it harder and harder to completely get rid of when you go out there and mow it. I realize, folks, that sometimes that's the only method that you got. You got to keep it under control somehow. But then I get the question, when it comes back thicker, yes, actually it does.
You couldn't dig it up.
You can dig it up. I mean, you can pull it up. Matter of fact, I had a guy pull up about 17 acres of it on my place. And he did the count, there was 300 to 400 weed setches per acre. And they have to be a certain size because the implement can't grab them and hold on to it. But he pulled them up. Some of the root systems on those things were 10, 15 foot long. Wow. Now you can see how they live. They go to water.
It just goes and comes up.
They pull them up and up and up. And then there's just all these roots. But yeah, that's a method that's worked well. Of course, you're going to have the little seedlings that you're going to have to control anyway because they're everywhere. But that's going to be an ongoing thing. Just get the mentality of weed setch management needs to be done every year. You skip, a couple of years, and everybody knows what happens. It just takes over.
And which is the plant? Is it mesquite? What came in on the hooves of the Spanish cows and all that?
I think that was mesquite.
Okay.
Yeah, mesquite is a problem here, but nothing like we said. You got to go a little bit further south to really get into true mesquite country, what they call the brush country.
Wow. Do you know that was I
did not know that.
Cattle would come in, I guess, on boats, and they had the seeds from the mesquite. Either they'd eaten the mesquite and it was in their poop, right? Or the seeds were in their hooves and it would
Carter Act.
And am I correct though? Am I close?
I think so.
I'm looking at you like, bail me out, bro. Tell the real story.
No, they actually just had packets of seeds in the hull of the ship.
Right. Looking back, the true story. The cows are pristine, and the people from Spain are just throwing seeds.
No, they wanted the mesquite for their barbecue.
Right.
That's what they wanted.
They originally brought McCartney Rose in here and introduced it to create fencing material before barbed wire was actually invented. And you've seen
the old rose hedge.
Rose hedge is what most people call it. You see it's taken over the world in some places too. So some things you bring in. Trying to do something good with it.
Carp, kudzu.
Yeah, all those things.
We don't have as much kudzu in Texas, do we?
Go to Mississippi.
Yeah, it just hangs from the tree, covers everything.
It'll grow over a house. I've seen it.
And then kills whatever it grows over. It grows over a tree, the tree dies eventually.
Yeah, if it gets on the top of the tree, where it shades out the tree's ability to get sunshine, then yes, it can kill the tree.
What's coming up for the fall? Is the Farm and Ranch show coming up?
Farm and Ranch show is on. hopefully with, the Delta variant out there, we're in the stages of planning that right now. As a matter of fact, October 27 and 28th is the South Texas Farm and Ranch Show. Last year we had to take it online, and this year we're going to do it back in person. So we're looking forward to that. The committee's working hard to make sure that everybody knows about it.
And where will that be held this year? I know it's in
It'll be
town.
Victoria Community Center.
Okay, good.
So
October 27th and 28th.
the tan has come back to haunt you. Your lovely wife Erica says he told me it was in San Antonio, but no pictures to back that up.
Yeah, you gotta love the wife listening.
Right, there's no pictures to back up to
None.
San Antonio.
No.
Not until the credit card bills roll in.
Yeah,
We
so
know.
South Padre Island.
Exactly.
I
Right.
went there this past summer too. So
Right.
place to go.
Hey, real quick,
Yep.
we don't have time to tell you bye yet, so we'll do this real quick. Dana Moore De La Garza, I just read that because it's on there. She's still a great friend.
Yeah.
Reach out to Terry Murray at Motto Mortgage, 541-5454. Let Terry help you refinance your home. Now's a great time to pull money out, and then you can build your garden with the money you take out. 541-5454.
She helped one of our listeners on Friday close a deal.
And I did hear, folks, that interest rates are starting to creep back up. So if this is the bottom, now's the time to refi. Lock in a rate today. Went Services for generators, solar panels, electrical, emergency plumbing work. Reach out to Went
Scheduled
Services.
plumbing work as well.
They will do it. Call and talk to Aaron, Carl Went. Reach out to Connie, the group there. They will take care of you at Went Services. USA Concrete Coatings, Charlie Garcia can come out. He can coat a garage floor, a pool deck, patio, a bedroom,
sidewalk,
whatever you want.
craft room, shop, anything.
He'll clean, level up, put in, seal the cracks, and then put down a tough polyurethane
And we'll
coat.
get it done in basically a day.
And then the Gray Barn, reach out to Cheryl for your next party, quinceañera, bar mitzvah, sales meeting, whatever you want to have. Reconciliation party at the Boucher house when he
Bridal
comes.
showers, baby showers.
When he comes clean about where he was, they want to have a reconciliation party. They can do something with a trust theme. 920-6803. You reach out to Cheryl at the Gray Barn. So I know we always say that, and we say this normally when you're not here. We really appreciate you coming in. Our people really, really enjoyed this segment, and they love. Scott Tomko says the floods totaled my garden. I tilled it all up, and I'm bringing in materials to add volume. He said it's nice weather to be gardening. A little hot for that to me, but
Yeah, me too.
Scott's one of those guys that you saw him. He'd have like a little umbrella hat, and
With the
maybe,
propeller on the top to
and
keep
maybe
it cool.
a Mai Tai, something, a fruity drink with a flower in it.
The weather is good. I mean, we do need the warm weather, and we need it to dry out. So we shouldn't complain about that. At least as wet as it's been.
I've been amazed. So few mosquitoes. Have y'all noticed? I mean, there's very,
Not too bad. You're
considering how much water is standing everywhere.
right. I think that the county has done a good job of making sure they're out, taking care of things.
Especially after that first one back in May, they really got after it. But the other thing I've noticed, lots of dragonflies.
Yep.
And boy, the toads have just
Yeah, there's lots of
Came
toads.
out.
Got flooded out wherever they were.
Did you hear that gratuitous plug of the
Yeah.
county? Like, hats off to Judge Zeller and the great folks at the county.
Well, they're the mosquito control.
I know you just threw that out there. That was good.
Yeah, they're doing a good job. They're out there.
They do.
People don't realize they're working when they're asleep. I mean, they're spraying everywhere stuff in the middle of the night. So if you don't have mosquitoes in your neighborhood, it's probably because they came through in the middle of the night.
Sure.
absolutely.
What else you got? Anything else exciting?
What's on the horizon? We talked
Yeah.
about the Farm and Ranch Show. What can people be doing now if they're logging to get back into their yard and into their garden after the freeze and the floods?
This is the time of the year when you don't have much to do. You keep it mowed for number one because it's going to grow with all the rain that we've had. But really, in this hot, drier, hopefully climate that we're having, we're kind of in the wait and see mode of the fall and when that starts. But weed control is going to be coming up in the fall as well. So fertilization, weed control coming up this fall. Just keep it mowed and sit on the porch and drink some tea or whatever you like.
Is there a granular that I can put down in my flower beds that won't hurt my hibiscus and all that, or even my little bedding plants, that will stop or kill that little 3-blade, what I call nut grass that comes up? They're very hard, even with good mulch. All of a sudden, those 3 blades come out, and it grows about 1.5 inches a day.
You can try Image, a product called Image.
Image.
You can try a product called Sedgehammer.
I like Sedgehammer better than Image.
I would check the label to make sure that it's labeled for use on ground, whatever's growing in your flower bed.
Sedgehammer.
Those are Sedgehammer specifically
I like that.
formulated for the sedges. We have some of those out there. So those two products. Otherwise, the good old shovel works well.
Now I got a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Summertime.
I have taught them how to take
That's
a little
that
spade.
13-8 mixture that works well.
But it's kind of like 21, 15, 12. I've taught the little guys how that if you just, I mean, it seems so obvious to us, but when you're a little guy, it doesn't. Just kind of gently insert that spade and give it like a little half twist and just grab that and pull that right out, But it's a lot of work to get those. You just don't feel like you ever get caught
My
up.
wonderful wife will be the first one to say that as soon as it gets down to raining, we need to be outside weeding, and she'll put on her little rain clothes and go outside. And she'll pull weeds.
Her little French maid outfit.
You been to my house?
Right? Her little French maid outfit. Oh,
She'll
goodness.
pull weeds and do it for 30 minutes, and it does make a difference, and it's easier. So I mean, nothing replaces that, and unfortunately.
So when I was a kid, buddy Kyle Alamond, his dad would come home from work, and one of the ways that he decompressed from work was he would grab something cold to drink and walk around the flat, and just every day, just pull a couple of weeds. And every day there were a couple to pull, but his yard always looked perfect.
If you get into that habit, you will have a pristine yard.
Yep.
No doubt about it.
So,
Good to be here.
hey, we love
We
having you
appreciate
here.
it, Matt. Thank you for stopping by.
So, by the way, that's our county ag extension agent, Matt Boucher. And Matt, the number to your office direct is 361
575-4581.
4581. Reach out to Matt with all your questions. And there's people there. So there are good folks there that if you have a question, they
They'll take
will.
a message or they'll try and handle a question because I'm going to be out.
Right.